He thought she was just a millionaire's wife, someone he could play games with. But the moment he looked into her eyes, memories came rushing back. She was the woman he had loved, lost, and promised to find again, his long-lost bride. The first thing he noticed was her laugh. It floated above the clink of crystal glasses and soft jazz music, light and clear, like a sound from another lifetime. Kwon Yi-hyun turned his head toward the balcony of the Skylux Hotel, more out of habit than curiosity. He was used to scanning every room, reading faces, finding threats. He was not used to having his heart stop. She stood at the railing, city lights burning behind her like a river of stars. Her midnight blue dress hugged her curves, diamonds resting against her collarbone. A perfect image of a perfect millionaire's wife at a charity gala. And yet, when she smiled at the man beside her, Yi-hyun forgot how to breathe. It couldn't be. He took a step forward, ignoring the waiter who almost bumped into him. His right-hand man, Jin, murmured something about staying low-key, about not drawing attention. Yi-hyun didn't hear a word. The woman turned slightly, the light catching the small, faint scar near her right eyebrow, just under her carefully done makeup. Only one person he knew had that scar. His lost bride, Soo-ah. But she was supposed to be dead. Boss, Jin touched his elbow. That's Chairman Han Min-yee's wife, Yoon Hana. Stay focused. We're here to discuss the port deal, not. Introduce me, Yi-hyun said quietly. Jin stared. Introduce you to the chairman's wife. Why? Yi-hyun forced his lips into a lazy smile, the one he used when he wanted people to underestimate him. The chairman is our new business partner. It would be rude not to greet his wife. In truth, he wanted to grab her shoulders, shake the years between them loose, and ask 100 questions. How are you alive? Why are you with him? Did you ever miss me? Instead, he moved through the crowd with easy confidence, mask firmly in place. To everyone watching, he was just another rich, dangerous man in a tailored black suit. Kwon Yi-hyun, secretive investor, rumored to have connections no one dared name out loud. As he approached, the millionaire turned. Han Min-yee was handsome in a cold, sharp way, his white tuxedo shining under the chandelier. Possessive fingers rested on the woman's bare arm. Chairman Han, Yi-hyun said, voice smooth. You left before I could thank you for inviting me. Min-yee's stern face shifted into a polite smile. Mr. Kwon, I didn't realize you had arrived. This gala is nothing without donors like you. His eyes held calculation, nothing more. And this must be your wife, Yi-hyun continued. He turned his full attention to her at last. I was beginning to think the rumors were lies. Her gaze met his. For a second, the hotel vanished. He saw a tiny noodle shop lit by a single orange lamp, a teenage girl in a school uniform balancing bowls in her hands, rain falling on a narrow alley, her laugh when he gave her his umbrella and walked home soaked instead. She blinked, confusion flashing in her eyes. Rumors, she asked softly. That you were the most beautiful woman in Seoul, Yi-hyun said, his tone light, teasing like a man who flirted for sport. Now I see they were understated. Her cheeks colored, but Min-yee's jaw tightened. Mr. Kwon has a talent for charming people, Min-yee said, a warning beneath the words. Yi-hyun ignored him. He tilted his head, studying her face more openly. Up close, he could see the tiny freckle near her left ear, the one he used to kiss for luck before exams. Impossible. Have we met before, Mrs. Han? He asked quietly. You look familiar. Her fingers trembled around her champagne glass. She hid it by taking a sip. I don't think so, she replied, her polite smile a perfect mask. I would remember a man like you. The lie cut deeper than a knife. Because she used to remember even the smallest things about him. Yi-hyun let out a short laugh as if the answer amused him, but his chest burned. Soo-ah, he said very softly, so only she could hear the name. Is that you? The glass slipped from her hand and shattered at their feet. Everyone turned to stare. 2 hours earlier, Yi-hyun had not believed in miracles. He believed in power, in leverage, in the silent language of fear. These things had kept him alive long enough to climb from the bottom of Busan's slums to the top of Seoul's underworld. At 32, he was the youngest boss the Kwon Syndicate had ever had. But miracles, no. He buttoned his jacket in the back of the black car as Jin drove them up to the Skylux Hotel. "This is unnecessary," Yi Hyun muttered. "If Han Min-yi wants my money, he can come to my office." Jin, who had known him since he was 16 and bloody on a pier, glanced at him in the rearview mirror. "Normal investors don't make billion-won deals in basement gambling dens, Hyung. We have to play their game sometimes. Wear suits, smile for pictures." "You enjoy this too much." Jin grinned. "Of course. Free champagne, rich people pretending to care about orphans. It's better than most of our nights." The car stopped at the red carpet. Photographers flashed, calling out names of actors and CEOs. Nobody called for Yi Hyun. Officially, he was just a quiet investor, owner of a chain of logistics companies. Unofficially, the people who mattered knew exactly who he was. Inside the ballroom, everything sparkled. Crystal chandeliers, silver tablecloths, women dripping in jewels. Waiters moved like silent ghosts. The theme was hope for tomorrow, raising money for a children's hospital. How many of these rich men used charity to clean dirty money? Yi Hyun wondered. Han Min-yi's company had reached out to the Kwon Syndicate months ago. The chairman needed cash for a risky overseas project, something the banks refused to touch. In return, Min-yi offered them access to shipping ports, perfect for moving certain goods quietly. Yi Hyun accepted, not because he trusted the man, but because he liked to own people who thought they were above him. Then he saw her, and suddenly all the plans in his head scattered like broken glass. Now staring at Hana, Su-ah, with champagne dripping around her heels, he felt like he was 20 again, standing in that burning alley helpless. Min-yi cursed under his breath. "Hana, are you all right?" "I'm fine," she said quickly, bending to pick up the pieces. "It slipped." A waiter rushed over. "Madam, please, I'll handle it." Yi Hyun moved before he could stop himself. He caught her wrist gently. "Careful," he said, "you'll cut yourself." Her skin felt the same, warm, fragile, a slight tremor under his fingers. She looked up, eyes wide. In them, for the first time, he saw something that was not polite distance. Fear. Not of him, of recognition. Min-yi stepped between them, breaking the contact. "Mr. Kwon," he said, voice tight. "My wife has sensitive hands. Please do not trouble her." Ah, so the chairman was jealous. "I apologize," Yi Hyun replied, falling back a step. "My intention was only to help." His gaze never left hers. "I hope I didn't shock you. You remind me of someone I used to know, that's all." Her lips parted. For a second he thought she might speak his name. Instead she looked away. "It happens, I have one of those faces." "No, you don't," he thought. "There is only one you." A host hurried over to announce something on stage. The crowd shifted. "Mr. Kwon," Min-yi said, adjusting his cufflinks. "We should discuss the port facilities. There is a private lounge upstairs." "Of course," Yi Hyun gave Hana a small nod. "Mrs. Han, it was a pleasure." Her answering nod was stiff. Her eyes followed him as he walked away. He felt it like heat on his back. As they reached the stairs to the VIP lounge, Jin leaned close. "What was that?" "What was what?" Yi Hyun kept walking. "You almost forgot your own name back there," Jin said. "Do you know her?" "I thought she was someone else." He pushed open the door to the quiet lounge where waiters already arranged drinks. "It doesn't matter." But it did. Every cell in his body screamed that it did. He had spent 10 years building an empire to hide the fact that he had failed one person, the girl he had sworn to protect, the wife he had lost in fire and blood, the wife whose grave he had visited every year, even though there had never been a body. And now she stood downstairs, smiling for cameras, wearing another man's ring. Yi Hyun poured himself a glass of water and drank it in one swallow. Maybe the name had slipped out by accident. Maybe he had seen what he wanted to see. People changed, faces blurred with time. Maybe he was wrong. But when he closed his eyes, all he saw was her face, pale with shock when he had whispered, "Su-ah." He needed to know. Whatever the cost. 10 years earlier, in a narrow alley of Busan, she had been just Su-ah from the noodle shop. She wore her hair in a messy ponytail, hands smelling of garlic and flour. She scolded stray cats for stealing fish bones and argued with suppliers twice her size. At night, after closing, she sat with Yi Hyun on the back step and counted stars between the wires. "Do you ever think about leaving?" she had asked once, her head on his shoulder. "This street, this city, this life." "Every day," he had answered honestly, "but not without you." She had smiled, eyes shining. "Then take me with you. We'll open a restaurant in Seoul, a real one, with white tablecloths and a wine list, not like Appa's. Appa will kill me if I steal his only daughter. He'll forgive you when we send him money, when he sees I'm eating 3 meals a day." She had been so thin back then, always giving her extra portions to customers, too soft to refuse anyone hungry. He had saved everyone he earned from carrying boxes at the port, fixing bikes, anything. When her father fell sick and hospital bills arrived, he had taken a job on a cargo ship that promised triple pay. Before he left, they had stood in front of a small temple and exchanged rings they bought from a street stall. No documents, no witnesses except the old monk and the cats, but in their hearts, it was marriage. "I'll work hard," he had promised, holding her hands. "I'll come back rich, proper rich, not gangster rich. Then I'll marry you again with a big ceremony and your favorite white lilies." "Don't die," she had whispered, tears in her eyes. "That's all I ask, just don't die." He had laughed, "I'm not that easy to kill." That had been the last time he saw her. The ship job had been a trap, smuggled goods hidden between containers, police, gunshots, someone pushing him into the freezing water, months in prison for a crime he never fully understood. When he finally got out, the noodle shop was gone, burned. The neighbors said there had been a fire, a debt problem, something with loan sharks. Her parents were dead. The girl, no one knew. For years, he believed she had died, too. Tonight, at the Skylux, the universe told him he had been wrong. The charity speeches inside the lounge blurred into noise. Min Yi talked about container routes and customs officers. Yi Hyun nodded at the right times, his mind elsewhere. "Mr. Kwon," Min Yi finally said, irritation under the polite tone. "Are we boring you?" "Not at all," Yi Hyun smiled slowly. "I was just thinking about insurance." "Insurance?" "For things we value." His gaze sharpened. "You must value your wife a lot, Chairman Han. A beautiful woman draws many eyes, some welcome, some not." Min Yi's lips tightened. "Are you one of the unwelcome ones?" "Tonight," Yi Hyun spread his hands, "I'm just an investor." Their eyes locked. Something cold and ugly moved in Min Yi's eyes for a second, then disappeared. He laughed, the sound thin. "Yoon Hana is loyal," he said. "She knows what kind of life she was saved from." Saved. The word stung. After the business talk ended, Min Yi excused himself to give a speech on stage. Jin left to handle a phone call. Alone in the lounge, Yi Hyun looked down at the ballroom through the glass wall. He saw Hana. No, he needed to know her name now, standing near the far corner, away from the lights. She rubbed her wrist where he had touched her earlier, her face turned slightly away from the crowd. She looked lost. Before he could stop himself, he left the lounge and headed downstairs. He found her on the side balcony where the music was softer and the air cooler. The city spread out below, a map of neon and glass. She stood alone, one hand on the railing, chest rising slightly faster than normal. "Running away from your own party, Mrs. Han?" he asked. She stiffened, then slowly turned. In the softer light, her face looked younger, more like the girl he remembered. "I needed some air," she said. "Big rooms make it hard to breathe." A strange confession for a woman used to big houses. "You don't know what I'm used to." He stepped closer, leaving a polite distance. "You're right," he said lightly. "I don't, that's why I came to ask." "To ask what?" "If you are Yoon Hana," he said, voice dropping. Or if you are Kim Soo-ah. Her fingers tightened around the rail. Silence stretched between them, broken only by the muffled sound of applause inside. I don't know what you're talking about, she said finally. Lies don't suit you, he replied. Her eyes flashed. And you know me well enough to say that? I know you hated lying, he said. You were bad at it. You used to laugh when you tried. You have a tiny scar because you lied to your mother about stealing extra tteokbokki, slipped on the wet floor, and hit your head on the counter. She went very still. Nobody else saw, he continued softly. You cried for an hour, not because of the pain, but because your mother looked disappointed. After that, you promised to only lie to strangers, never to family. Her face drained of color. Who are you? She whispered. How do you know that? He took a breath that felt like swallowing glass. Soo-ah, he said. It's me, Yi Hyun. Her hand flew to her mouth. For a second, raw emotion crossed her features. Shock, then something like hope, then sudden pain. She took a step backward, shaking her head. No, she breathed. You're dead. Apparently not. I saw the news. Her voice shook. Your ship, there was an explosion, names on the report. We went to the police. They said there were bodies they couldn't identify. We held a memorial for you. We. Her words broke. I was in prison, he said. I got out and came back, but the shop was gone. They said there was a fire, loan sharks. They said you were dead. Tears filled her eyes, made them shine like the first time he had kissed her in the rain. There was a fire, she said. Appa lost everything paying debts, but we survived. A businessman offered to help. He paid the debts and took us to Seoul. I thought you knew. I thought you didn't come because you chose another life. Another life? His throat tightened. I spent years looking for you. There was nothing, no record, no address. It was like you had disappeared. He changed our names, she whispered. New IDs, new addresses. He said it was the only way to be safe. She let out a bitter laugh. It seems he was right, even you couldn't find me. Who? He asked, though he already knew. She swallowed, Han Min-yi. Inside the ballroom, the band started a new song, a sweet ballad about first love. The words drifted out onto the balcony, almost cruel. You married him, Yi Hyun said, each word heavy. Her shoulders squared. Yes. Why? Her answer came out in a whisper. Because I had no choice. The door to the balcony opened before he could ask more. Hana Min-yi's voice cut through the moment. There you are, the auction is starting, we're looking for you. His gaze fell on Yi Hyun, then on Hana's wet eyes. Is something wrong? He asked. Hana wiped her face quickly. It's nothing, just the wind. There is no wind, Min-yi said. His attention shifted to Yi Hyun, his smile thin. Mr. Kwon, I hope my wife hasn't offended you. She isn't used to your type of friend. On the contrary, Yi Hyun said calmly, we were just sharing old stories. Old stories? Min-yi's eyes narrowed, but his voice stayed smooth. How interesting. My wife doesn't share much of her past. I suppose some things are better forgotten. He reached for Hana's arm. She flinched almost imperceptibly before letting him take it. I'll borrow her, Min-yi said. The cameras want a happy couple. Yi Hyun watched as they walked back inside, Min-yi's hand firm on her wrist. He had found his lost bride. And she belonged to another man. For 3 nights after the gala, Hana did not sleep properly. She lay awake in the dark penthouse, city lights drawing patterns on the ceiling, listening to her husband's even breathing beside her. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw Yi Hyun on the balcony, the shock in his eyes when he said her name. He was alive. Not only alive, but powerful, different and yet achingly familiar. She had spent years dreaming of him, then years trying to forget, telling herself he was dead. That life had forced her onto another road. She had learned to smile in photographs, to choose dresses that matched her husband's suits, to sit silently at dinners while men discussed mergers and stocks over lobster. She had learned to be Yoon Hana, elegant and calm. But a single whisper, Soo-ah, had cracked that shell. Beside her, Min-yi turned in his sleep. His arms slid over her waist automatically, heavy like a chain. She stared at the ceiling and remembered another arm wrapping around her, on a narrow mat in a small room above the noodle shop, back when they were too poor to own an air conditioner. Yi Hyun's skin had smelled of sea salt and cheap soap. He had held her like she was his whole world. "Don't worry," he had murmured against her hair. "I'll protect you always." She pressed her lips together. He hadn't protected her from life. But maybe he hadn't had the chance. Morning came. Servants moved softly through the penthouse. Breakfast appeared on the long dining table, fresh fruit, bread, strong coffee. Min Yi sat at the head, reading the business section on his tablet. "Hana," he said without looking up, "your charity event was a success. The media liked your speech." "That's good," she answered, stirring her coffee though she didn't drink it. "There are pictures of you with Mr. Kwon," he continued. "Some people say you looked close." Her spoon clinked against the cup. "He's your new partner," she said. "I was only being polite." Min Yi put the tablet down slowly. His dark eyes were sharp. "I don't like the way he looks at you." She let out a small, tired laugh. "You don't like the way any man looks at me." "I paid a high price to bring you and your mother out of that filthy neighborhood," he said. "I will not see what I bought damaged." The word "bought" hit her like a slap, though she had heard it before. She straightened, pride stiffening her spine. "You didn't buy me. You helped my family. I am grateful. That doesn't make me an object." He smiled in that way that never reached his eyes. "Everything in this world is an object, Hana. Some objects are just more expensive. Remember who gave you your name. Without me, you would still be Kim something, selling noodles in a broken street." Her fingers curled into fists under the table. Her real name tasted like ash now. Kim Soo-ah, who ran through alleys and dreamed of a small restaurant with the boy she loved. "You're upset," Min Yi said, his voice softening slightly. "Forgive me. I overreacted. It's just Mr. Kwon is dangerous. Men like him don't want things they cannot have. Stay away from him for your own safety." "For my safety or for your pride?" she asked quietly. He ignored the question. "My mother is coming for dinner tonight," he said. "Wear something conservative. She thinks your last dress was too much for a woman of our family." "Our family," she repeated bitterly in her mind. Out loud, she only said, "Yes." When he left for the office, she stood by the large window, looking down at the city. Somewhere out there, Yi Hyun was moving in shadows, commanding men, making deals that would never appear in newspapers. She should stay away from him. He was dangerous. Her husband was right about that, at least. The whispers about Kwon Yi Hyun had reached every corner of Seoul's elite, ruthless, ice-cold, untouchable. A man people feared even when they only saw his silhouette in a tinted car window. But he was also the boy who had carried her brother on his back to the clinic when he had a fever. The boy who had slipped coins into her mother's apron pocket. The boy who had placed a cheap ring on her finger with hands that shook. She touched that finger unconsciously. The ring was gone, of course, had been gone for years. Her wedding band now was platinum, heavy and cold, given to her in a 5-star hotel with photographers and contracts. She thought of the way Yi Hyun had looked at her on the balcony, not like an object he wanted to own, like a miracle he couldn't believe. Her heart made a decision her mind called foolish. She went to her dressing room, opened the small safe behind a mirror, and took out an old, folded piece of paper. It was yellowed, edges fragile, a simple note she had kept all these years. "Meet me at the pier the night after the full moon. I'll come back rich and make you my wife properly. J.H." She had gone to that pier once long ago after the fire, hoping somehow he would be there. He hadn't come, of course. She thought he was dead. Now, 10 years later, the full moon was tomorrow. Maybe it was madness. But she decided to go. That same afternoon, in a private office above a nightclub in Gangnam, Yi Hyun stared at an old, scratched phone he kept in a locked drawer. It didn't work anymore. The screen was cracked, the battery long dead. But inside, there was one photo that he had printed out and kept, then deleted from every other device out of fear that someone would use it against him. The photo was of a teenage girl holding a bowl of noodles toward the camera, cheeks puffed. eyes laughing. He ran his thumb lightly over the paper. Hyung, Jin knocked once and entered. The Daehan boys want a meeting. They're angry about the new warehouse near Incheon. They can be angry, Yi Hyun said. We bought it legally. If they try to take it, we respond. Normally, I'd love a good fight, Jin replied. But with the hand deal still fresh, maybe we should avoid heat. The chairman's mother is on some anti-crime committee. If there's blood, she'll scream and the prosecutors will listen. I know, Yi Hyun said, putting the photo away. We'll talk first. Jin studied him for a moment. This isn't like you. Usually you enjoy reminding people who's boss. People change. People, Jin's eyebrows lifted. Or one particular person. Yi Hyun didn't answer. After a pause, Jin sighed. Fine, I'll schedule a talk, but you need to focus, Hyung. Han Min-yi isn't a fool. He's using us as much as we're using him. If he senses weakness, he'll try to cut us out. Let him try, Yi Hyun said, but his voice held less heat than usual. When Jin left, the office was quiet. He thought of the gala balcony, of Soo-ah's, Hana's, face when she realized he was alive. Pain, yes, but also something that made his chest tighten, the same stubbornness he remembered. Why did you marry him? He muttered to the empty room. He understood the basic answer, money, safety, family, but he wanted the details, the feelings. Did she love the man? Had she ever? The idea made his hands curl into fists. He almost laughed at himself. Kwon Yi Hyun, Mafia boss, feared by criminals and businessmen, jealous like a stupid teenager. He remembered the businessman in his tailored white suit, the way he had called her, what I bought. Heat climbed his neck. Dangerous or not, he couldn't stay away. He picked up his phone and sent a message to a number reserved for very special requests. Find everything on Yoon Hana, real name, family, history, discreetly. Then, after a moment, he added, and check records of a fire in Busan 10 years ago. Noodle shop near the old port, Kim family. He set the phone down and leaned back, eyes closing. If fate had brought her back into his life, he would not waste the chance. Not again. The next night, the full moon hung low and bright above the Han River, painting the water silver. The old pier where Soo-ah and Yi Hyun had once met was mostly gone, replaced by a modern park with walking paths and benches. But at the very end, the city had left a small section of the wooden planks, a nod to history, according to a sign. Hana pulled her coat tighter around herself as she walked to the end of the pier. She had told Min-yi she was visiting her mother. That was half true. She had stopped by the small apartment first, giving her mother food and money, listening to her complain about sore knees and expensive medicine. You look tired, Hana, her mother had said, touching her face. Is he working you too hard with these events? I'm fine, Hana had answered with a smile. Just busy. She hadn't told her mother about seeing Yi Hyun, about how the past had walked into her present and asked why she had moved on. Her mother had worked so hard to believe in this new life, to believe that marrying into the Han family had been a blessing, not a price. Hana couldn't shake that fragile peace. So she came here alone. The wind off the river was cold. She checked her phone. 9:02 p.m. You're early, a voice said behind her. Her heart stumbled. She turned. He stood a few meters away, hands in the pockets of a dark coat, no tie tonight. Without the suit jacket and the party lights, he looked younger, more like the boy she remembered. But his eyes were sharper, heavier with experience. I wasn't sure you'd come, he said. I wasn't sure you'd remember, she replied. How could I forget? He walked closer, the wooden planks creaking under his boots. I waited on this pier for hours once. When I came back and found the shop gone, I still came here. I thought maybe you'd appear like in those dramas you liked. Her throat tightened. I came too, weeks after the fire. I waited until the last bus. I thought maybe you de-changed your mind and would come anyway, but you didn't. I was in a cell, he said quietly, counting the cracks in the wall and thinking about how angry you would be that I couldn't keep my promise. Silence fell between them, filled with things both of them wanted to say but didn't know how. Finally, Hana laughed softly, a sad sound. This is crazy, she said. We're standing here like teenagers again, but we're not. You're a mafia boss, Yi Hyun. So they say. And I'm married. He looked down at her left hand, at the ring that caught the moonlight. You are, he said. Her fingers curled slightly, as if trying to hide the metal. I don't expect anything from you, he added. I just needed to see you to know what happened. She nodded, hugging her arms around herself. After the fire, she began slowly, Appa's debts doubled. The loan sharks said the insurance money wasn't enough. They wanted more. They came to the hospital, shouted at Uma, threatened to hurt me if we didn't pay. His jaw clenched. Han Min-yi appeared like a hero, she continued. He said he was an acquaintance of one of the doctors. He offered to pay everything, to move us to Seoul, to give Uma a small apartment, a job in one of his factories. In return, he wanted me. How old were you? Yi Hyun asked, though he knew. 22, she gave a small, humorless smile. Legal enough to sign contracts and make deals. Did you have a choice? Of course, she said bitterly. He was very clear I could refuse, and then he would stop paying the hospital. The loan sharks would come back. They might take our fingers or our eyes or maybe just burn us alive next time. It was completely my decision. Anger burned white-hot inside him. You married him to save your family, he said. Yes, her eyes met his. And then I spent years telling myself I had made peace with it. You don't sound at peace. Seeing you again ruined everything, she whispered. I finally learned to stop waiting for you, to stop imagining your face in every crowd. Then you walk into my gala and flirt with me like I'm just another rich man's bored wife. His lips twisted. I thought you were. I know. He stepped closer, his voice dropped. If I had known, he said, each word rough, I would have torn this city apart to get you out. That's the problem. She gave a small, sad laugh. You would have, and you still might, but I don't want blood on your hands because of me. Too late for pure hands, he said. You know what I am. She looked at him for a long moment. Do I? She asked softly. I know the boy you were, the one who gave his dinner to stray cats, the one who covered my brother with his own jacket when he had a fever. I don't know this man. You're looking at him, he said. Ask. All right, she took a small breath. Do you hurt people? Yes, he answered without hesitation. Sometimes personally, mostly by ordering it. Do you sell drugs? No, I made a rule. No drugs, no trafficking. I move other things. Weapons, money, information. It doesn't make me good, just less bad. Do you regret it? He looked up at the moon. I regret that the world pushed me here, he said finally. I regret that I wasn't strong enough to stay clean and still survive. I regret that when they burned your shop, I was too weak to stop it. Everything since then has been built on that regret. Her eyes softened, but her voice stayed steady. And now, she asked, what do you want now? He dropped his gaze to hers. You, he said simply. Her breath caught. You can't say that, she whispered. I belong to someone else. Do you? His jaw tightened. In your heart. She opened her mouth, then closed it. I made vows, she said finally. I made them first, he replied. You were my wife before he even knew your name. That wasn't a legal marriage. It was real, he said. We both know it. The wind gusted, lifting her hair. He reached out without thinking and tucked a strand behind her ear. His fingers brushed her skin. She shivered. I'm not asking you to run away with me tonight, he said, softer. I know it's complicated. You have your mother, your life. You're afraid. I'm not afraid, she said quickly, then added, I'm practical. Fine, practical. A corner of his mouth lifted. Then be practical and admit your husband is dangerous in his own way. I saw the way he held you, like a possession. You hold guns, she said. He holds contracts, it's all the same. Is it? His eyes bored into hers. Has he ever hurt you, Sua? She hesitated. He's never hit me, she said at last. That wasn't my question. Her hand went unconsciously to her shoulder. where a faint bruise, hidden now, had formed last month when he had grabbed her too hard during an argument. He shouts, she admitted. He breaks things, he says ugly words when he's angry, but after he apologizes, buys gifts, promises to do better. And then he does it again. She didn't answer. Yi Hyan swore under his breath. I won't let him hurt you, he said. You can't promise that, she replied. Your world and his world are the same now. Deals, power, pride. If you start a war over me, people will die. People already die in our worlds. Not because of me. His voice came out rough. You think you aren't worth fighting for? That's not what I said. Then what are you saying? She looked at him, eyes shining with unshed tears. I'm saying that I'm tired, she whispered. Tired of being the reason men destroy things. My father took loans because he wanted to give me a better life. You went to that ship because you wanted to take care of me. Min Yi saved us because he wanted me. Every decision, every sacrifice, every crime somehow comes back to me. I can't carry that anymore. He wanted to pull her into his arms and tell her she didn't have to carry anything alone. Instead, he clenched his hands at his sides. I hear you, he said slowly. So listen to this. I won't start a war, not now, not like that, but I won't disappear either. I will find a way to cut his hold on you legally, safely, without blood if possible. That's impossible, she said. You don't know what he's like. I'm very good at discovering what people are like, he replied. It's my job. Her lips trembled. And if I say I don't want you to interfere, that I can handle my own marriage. Then you'd be lying again, he said softly, and we both know you hate that. She let out a shaky breath. You're arrogant, she muttered. You used to like that about me. No, she said. I liked that you pretended to be arrogant but were actually soft inside. He smiled, a real one this time. I'm still soft inside, he said, for exactly one person. She looked away, blinking fast. I need time, she whispered. Take it, he said. I've already waited 10 years, what's a little more? Their eyes met again. For a moment, the world shrank to the space between them. Then footsteps sounded at the start of the pier. Hana, a voice called. Her blood ran cold. It was Mr. Park, her husband's driver. She stepped back quickly, heart racing. I have to go, she whispered. He didn't try to stop her. He only caught her hand for a second, squeezed it once, and let it go. I'll be around, he said quietly. She nodded and turned away, walking toward the driver with measured, practiced calm. She could feel Yi Hyan's gaze on her back all the way to the car. As she slid into the black sedan, Park glanced in the rearview mirror. Madam, he said, hesitation in his tone. Was that Mr. Kwon just now? Her heart lurched. No, she lied smoothly. Just someone asking for directions. He nodded, though his eyes were doubtful. On the old pier under the full moon, Yi Hyan watched the car pull away. His jaw was tight, his mind already racing. If Han Minyi thought he could own Su-ah forever, he was wrong. This time, Yi Hyan would not lose her without a fight. Within a week, the first cracks appeared. Late one evening, Yi Hyan sat in his office, surrounded by ledgers and a screen full of encrypted messages. His laptop pinged with a new file from the investigator he had hired. He opened it and read fast. The report on Yoon Hana was thin by design. Her public life started 7 years ago when she married Han Min-yi. Before that, only the basic line, born Kim Soo-ah in Busan, parents deceased in a fire. No mention of debt, no loan shark records, clean and neat like a file made to impress in-laws. But the report on Han Min-yi was thick. Beneath the polished image of a self-made chairman, there were shadows, illegal political donations, factory accidents hidden with money, a quiet cover-up of a drunk driving incident years ago. And there, buried in the middle, a familiar name. Loan company, Jinho Capital. Debtor Kim Jun-ho, Hana's father. Guarantor, Han Corporation subsidiary. Arrangement, debt purchase and collateral agreement. Jinho Capital. one of the smaller outfits that had worked under the Kwon syndicate years ago. They had since been swallowed by a rival gang. Yi Hyun leaned back, eyes narrowing. So Han Min-yi hadn't been a random angel walking into the hospital. He had been involved with the loan sharks from the start. He had owned the debt that crushed Hana's family. And the fire at the noodle shop? Another file showed an accidental electrical fire 2 weeks after the debt was transferred. Insurance payout, modest. Property ownership passed quietly to a Han-linked company 6 months later for redevelopment. Rage rose in Yi Hyun like a tide. He had always thought the fire was just bad luck, the work of desperate men wanting money. Now he saw the pattern. Burn the poor family's shop, claim insurance, then move them like pieces on a board. Han Min-yi had not saved Su-ah. He had engineered her desperation. He had built his life on her ruin. Jin walked in without knocking, as usual, holding 2 paper cups of coffee. "You look like you're about to kill someone," he said cheerfully. "Let me guess, the Daehan boys are being—" "Change of target," Yi Hyun cut in. "We're going after Han Min-yi." Jin almost dropped the coffee. "Hyung," he said slowly, putting the cups down. "We just signed a contract with that man. Our containers are in his ports. Our money is flowing through his accounts. You want to start a war now?" "This isn't about war," Yi Hyun said, voice low. "It's about truth. He orchestrated the debt that destroyed Su-ah's family. He used that fire to trap her. He's still using her. And he's dirty in ways we can prove." "So," Jin spread his hands, "we know all our partners are dirty. That's why they come to us." "It's different," Yi Hyun snapped. "He targeted her." Jin watched him for a long moment, then sighed. "Okay," he said. "Not going to pretend I understand what it's like to be in love with a woman who is currently wearing another guy's ring, but I've seen you kill for less. What's the plan?" "We gather evidence," Yi Hyun said. "All of it, not just about her family, about his fraud, his illegal donations, the factories. Then we give it to someone who hates him enough to use it." "Who hates him that much?" "His competitors, his political enemies, maybe his own relatives," Yi Hyun replied. "And the prosecutors, they love high-profile cases, especially when there's public outrage." Jin whistled softly. "You want to burn him down legally? That's new." "I promised her no war," Yi Hyun said. "She doesn't want blood spilled because of her, so we use another kind of weapon." "Information," Jin muttered, "sometimes more dangerous than guns." He nodded. "I'll assign the best hackers." "And Jin," Yi Hyun added, "no one hurts her, no threats, no games. She doesn't need to know what we're doing until we're ready." "Understood." As Jin left, Yi Hyun looked at the city lights outside the window. This time, he would not come at the enemy with blades in the dark. He would let the law, the press, and karma do most of the cutting. Days turned into a tense rhythm. Hana and Yi Hyun met only twice, briefly. Once in a crowded art gallery, where he stood behind her for 5 minutes, quietly commenting on the paintings like any other patron, their fingers almost but not quite touching. "I like this one," she had said, looking at a painting of a stormy sea. "Because it looks like your life," he had replied. "Because it looks like yours," she had answered. The second time was at a small cafe near the hospital her charity supported. She came with a group of volunteers. He arrived separately, sat at the far corner, and simply watched her handle crying children and exhausted nurses with a gentle patience. When she moved past his table to leave, she slipped a folded napkin into his hand without looking. "Be careful, he is suspicious." The napkin smelled faintly of vanilla. His chest ached. Meanwhile, pressure built inside the Han household. One evening, 2 weeks after the peer meeting, Hana stood by the dining table as Madame Han, Min Yi's mother, cut her steak into small, sharp pieces. "You're getting too thin," the older woman said. "It won't look good in magazines." "I've been busy with the foundation," Hana answered politely. "I sometimes forget to eat lunch." "A wife's first duty is to her husband," Madame Han said, "not to strangers' children." "They're not strangers," Hana said quietly. Their patients at the hospital are family sponsors. Hospital, orphanage, animal shelter. Madam Hen waved her fork. Charity is for poor people to feel better about their lives. You are not poor. Stop acting like you are. Min Yi watched this exchange with mild amusement, sipping his wine. He said finally, Hana's charity work helps our image. Let her play with her projects. Play, Madam Hen repeated, eyeing Hana. Yes, that's all it is. Later that night in their bedroom, Min Yi closed the door and leaned against it, arms crossed. My mother heard a rumor, he said. Hana put down the book she was pretending to read. What rumors? That you were seen at the river last week, he said. At night, alone with a man in a dark coat. Her heart thudded. She kept her face calm. I went to see my mother. Maybe someone saw me on the street. People like to talk. Don't lie to me, he said, voice dropping. I'm not. He crossed the room in 3 strides, grabbed her arms and pulled her to her feet. His grip was tight, fingers digging into her skin. I know it was Kwon, he hissed. My driver said so. Why were you meeting him? Pain flared where he held her. She forced herself not to flinch. He wanted to talk about the hospital project, she said. He's a donor now. It was a public place. Nothing happened. Nothing, his eyes flashed. He stood too close to you at the gala. He looks at you like you belong to him. I don't belong to anyone, she snapped before she could stop herself. His face changed. Slowly, he released her arms, then lifted his hand. For a second, she thought he would hit her. Instead, he slammed his palm into the wall next to her head, making the picture frame rattle. She jumped. You forget, he said softly, dangerously. Without me, you and your mother would still be rotting in that slum. I took you out. I gave you this life. Don't make me regret it. His breath smelled of wine. She kept her gaze steady, though her heart pounded. I'm grateful for everything you did, she said. I always have been, but I am not your slave. He laughed, low and humorless. Of course not, he said. You are my wife. He turned away, loosening his tie. Stay away from Kwon, he added over his shoulder. If I see you with him again, I won't be so calm. Calm, she thought bitterly, rubbing her bruised arms when he went to the bathroom. If this was calm, she didn't want to see the alternative. That night when he finally slept, she tiptoed to the balcony and dialed a number she had never called before, the digits memorized from a small card slip he had once, accidentally, left in her purse. He answered on the first ring. Hana, his voice was low, urgent. Is something wrong? She swallowed. He suspects us, she said. He told me to stay away from you. Did he hurt you? No, she lied automatically, then sighed. Not really. He grabbed me, that's all. I'm used to it. Don't say that, he said roughly. Don't ever say you're used to being hurt. Silence stretched between them for a beat. I'm gathering evidence, he said finally. It's worse than we thought. He didn't just buy your father's debt, he pushed it. He benefited from the fire. He laundered money through fake charities, some of them in your name. In my name, shock made her voice rise. Yes, the Yoon Hope Foundation accounts. He uses them to move funds. His tone softened. I'm sorry, I know that foundation means something to you. She sank onto the outdoor chair, legs weak. If the prosecutors investigate, she whispered, they'll think I'm involved. Not if we control the story, he said. We show them you were a victim, like your father, like hundreds of others. We show them how he manipulated everything. And you, she asked. You're not exactly clean, Yi Hyun. If you go to the prosecutors, they'll open your world too. I know, he let out a breath. I'm choosing my battles. You'd risk your empire for this? She asked softly. For you, he said simply. Her chest tightened. This is madness, she whispered. You'll go to jail. Maybe, he said. Maybe not. Men like me always have secrets to trade. Prosecutors love big fish. I can give them bigger ones than me. That's not how a normal life works. We lost normal a long time ago, Su-ah. She closed her eyes. I don't want you to get hurt, she said. You don't get to be the only one worrying, he replied. Go back inside, don't give him more reason to question you. And Hana, yes. If he touches you again, you tell me. What will you do? She asked, half afraid of the answer. He didn't answer immediately. When he spoke, his voice was a quiet promise. Whatever it takes. The storm finally broke 2 weeks later, on a rainy Thursday. Hana was at the hospital, reading stories to a group of children in the oncology ward, when her phone buzzed again and again. She ignored it until the nurse tapped her shoulder. Madam Han, the nurse whispered. It's your husband's secretary, she says it's urgent. Hana apologized to the children, promised to continue the story later, and stepped into the corridor. Hello. Madam, the secretary's voice shook. Something has happened at the company. The prosecutors, they're here. Search teams. They're taking documents, computers. Chairman Han wants you at the headquarters immediately. Her stomach dropped. Why, she asked. What does this have to do with me? I don't know, the woman stammered, but they asked for you by name. When Hana arrived at the glass tower of Han Corporation, the lobby was chaos. Men in suits argued with men in navy jackets bearing the words prosecutor's office. Camera flashes went off outside as reporters tried to get inside. A young prosecutor with sharp eyes and an exhausted expression approached her. Mrs. Han, he said. Yes, she answered, trying to keep her voice steady. I'm Prosecutor Lee Min-seok, he said, showing his ID. We need to ask you a few questions about the Yoon Hope Foundation and several related accounts. Would you come with us, please? Her knees nearly gave way. I had no idea, she whispered. The foundation is for the hospital, for the children, I swear. Then you have nothing to worry about, he said, gentler now. If you're innocent, this conversation will only help you. Behind him, an elevator dinged. 2 officers escorted a handcuffed figure out. Han Min-yi. His tie was gone, his hair slightly disheveled, but his chin was high, eyes filled with cold fury. When he saw Hana, something like betrayal flared there. You, he snarled. Chairman Han, an officer warned. He ignored the man. You did this, he hissed at her. You and your street rat. She stared stunned. What are you talking about? Don't pretend, he spat. Kwon, this has his fingerprints all over it. He fed them information. No one else knew about those accounts. Her heart pounded. If Min-yi knew Yi Hyun was behind this. Sir, that's enough, the officer said firmly, tugging his arm. Min-yi jerked free for a second, leaning toward her. You think he loves you, he whispered harshly. He's using you like everyone else. You'll go down with me, Hana, remember that. Then the officers pulled him away. Flashes exploded as reporters shouted questions. Chairman Han, did you embezzle charity funds? Mrs. Han, were you involved? Is it true your foundation is a front for money laundering? Everything blurred. Someone guided her into a side room. A recorder clicked on. Questions came one after another, dates, signatures, meetings. Her hands shook as she answered. I signed forms my husband gave me, she said again and again. I trusted him. I didn't handle the accounts. At some point, the door opened and another man entered, taller than the rest, with calm eyes that held a quiet intensity. Prosecutor Kim, Lee said, this is Mrs. Han. I know, Prosecutor Kim replied. He glanced at Hana. We've been gathering information on your husband's activities for a long time. Recently, we received very detailed anonymous tips. They all pointed to the same thing. He used your name and your foundation as camouflage. She swallowed. Anonymous tips. Yes, he sat across from her. Someone wanted us to see you as a victim, not an accomplice. They sent us recordings, copies of internal emails, instructions signed by your husband ordering his staff to keep you in the dark. Her heart squeezed. Did this anonymous person, she asked carefully, admit their own crimes too? He smiled faintly, like a man who knew more than he was saying. Sometimes, Mrs. Han, he said, the law makes deals with devils to catch bigger devils. That's all you need to know. Hope and fear tangled in her chest. "Am I under arrest?" she whispered. "Not at this time," he replied. "You are a witness and a potential victim, but the media will speculate. You should prepare yourself." She nodded, numb. "Do you have somewhere safe to stay?" he asked. "Somewhere away from your husband's influence." "My mother's," she said. "I suggest you go there tonight," he said. "We'll arrange a car and Mrs. Han." "Yes. If this anonymous source is who I think it is, then someone out there has risked a lot to protect you. Don't waste that protection." His gaze held hers for a second longer, then he stood. Outside, the storm still raged, rain hitting the windows in hard sheets. As Hannah walked out of the building through a side exit, flashes still exploding at the front, a black car slipped quietly to the curb. The back door opened. Yi Hyun sat inside. Her steps faltered. "Get in," he said softly. She hesitated only a moment before sliding into the seat. The car pulled away, merging smoothly into traffic, leaving the chaos